Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield. Can you dig it? Joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, my friend.
Warriors, come out and play, yay!
I can't right now. It's cold. I'm not going out. Wait, let me get my mask.
Cold for you.
Let me get my mask. I'll go out and play, yay. This week we are dorking out about 1979's The Warriors. This was a request from our listener, Bridget. She requested it like last year, and I kept moving it around, and then we just kind of got it in our head. It's time to watch The Warriors. So we're watching The Warriors. It is written by David Shaber and Walter Hill. It's based on a book by Sol Urich called The Warriors. And it's directed by Walter Hill, who also did 48 Hours and Streets of Fire. Here's a sneak peek. We're going to talk about Streets of Fire next week because we were dorking out about it before we even started hitting record. So we need to talk about this one. And this movie stars Michael Beck, James Remar. I'm like, there's so many people here. I don't even know if I should list them all. Deborah Van Valkenburg as Mercy, and the one that and David Patrick Kelly as Luther. That's the guy who's doing the like come out and play, yay. And then there's Lynn Thigpen,
yes,
yeah,
the DJ
as the DJ. And I had not seen The Warriors in a little while, and when I rewatched it, I was like, I always remember her as the angry mom from Lean on Me. Did you see that movie?
God, that movie is batshit. We should definitely do that movie.
It is.
We should cover that movie, yeah.
Yeah, that movie is batshit insane. It's based on a true story. I'm curious to know, like, how much of it is true and how much of it is, like, movie stuff. But to me, like, every time...
call me Crazy Joe. Now they can call me Batman.
I love that you remember that line.
Morgan Freeman. Oh, yeah, that was in the commercial.
That movie played at the theater I was working at, so I saw the movie, but I saw parts of it all the time. And to me, always, I'm like, hey, it's an angry mom from Lean on Me. Like she did way more movies than that. But to me, she's always that. Let's start with this. When did you first see The Warriors? I assume you didn't see it in the theater.
No, I would have been a little too young. I think it was one of those things that it was on TBS on Friday nights. Yeah. They had like a Friday night movie, and it was on all the time in the 80s. It was, I honestly, it could be 8:00 at night. It could be like 2 a.m. The Warriors was playing somewhere. And I always found it hugely entertaining. I'm a native New Yorker. I love the locations. I love the costumes. I love how crazy it all is and weird. And yet strangely, like, there's only one gun really in this movie. And it's about gangs, but they don't have those kind of weapons. They have baseball bats instead, or their fists. It's I don't know. I just always loved it.
Yeah, that's how I saw it too. I definitely saw it on like cable TV, and it had been a little while since I'd seen it, and I watched it last year, like a little pandemic, like watch along with like some friends, like started it at the same time and turned on our Zoom and chatted through The Warriors. And I've just been meaning to go back to it. So I'm glad that we did it because it's such a fun movie in that it's really simple. It's, all of these gangs go to this like huge like summit basically. And by the way, there's so many gangs. They all have names. They all have like outfits that they have, like matching outfits, and they have really great names too. So it's like the punks, the boppers, things like the baseball furies. But I'm always like, there's the mimes, there's the baseball players, there's leather vests and satin jackets, there's fedoras. That's what I call them. But I understand that they actually have names. So all the gangs go to the summit. They don't bring their weapons. And the leader of he's not like he is kind of their leader, I guess, like the leader of all the gangs, kind of.
He's leader Van Cortlandt Riffs. Cyrus is the leader.
Yeah.
Of the Riffs, and that's like one of the toughest gangs. The Gramercy Riffs, excuse me.
Oh yeah,
they're in Van Cortlandt Park.
Yes, thank you.
So, yeah, Riffs, hell yeah, yeah, right. Excuse me, yeah, right. So he gives this speech, and it's fascinating. Like he's so dynamic as a performer, and he's like, "Can you dig it?" And it's all these dudes that are in gangs, and I don't know how they got all these people filmed together. I mean, because I know all these locations.
Yeah.
And they filmed it apparently like sundown to sunup. It was all night long. They were shooting mostly on locations in New York. And anyway, his idea is that, look at all of us. There's so many of us. If we banded together, we could run the city, one borough at a time. And they're all applauding, and it's really thrilling. And then Cyrus is shot, and he goes down, and then it's mayhem because then the police come in. And the guy who really shoots him notices that a warrior saw him shoot Cyrus. So he says, "It's the warriors, it's the warriors, the warriors shot Cyrus."
He talks like that too.
That's
a really good
impersonation.
It's very good.
Thank you. And then, so the warriors now, they're way up in the Bronx. They're from Coney Island, Brooklyn. It's about 20 miles between them. And nobody seems to be carrying tokens. I love the scene where the guy buys like 20 tokens. I'm like, you're a gang. Just bust on through.
I put that in my notes too. I was like, what gang is that? They're so polite. It's like
responsible.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that gang must be called the Gentlemen. Like they all like buy tokens. Like everyone else is hopping
one at a time.
Yeah, hopping the stalls and like sneaking their way on the subway. And these guys are like, after you. No, after you. Here's your token. Please get on the subway.
Oh, thank you.
We're a gang.
Thank you.
We're a gang. Oh, I dropped my monocle. Oh, how very droll. Like,
so the warriors take off, and then the Gramercy Riffs believe that the warriors shot Cyrus. So the Gramercy Riffs. Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
So they are in cahoots with the DJ, and we only see her mouth.
Yes.
When she's talking into the microphone. And she's basically letting the people listening know the Gramercy Riffs are going to take down the warriors. So if you see them, let us know, kind of thing. There's a bounty on them. And so the warriors now, in their leather vests, and that's that.
That's that.
That's it. And those vests are beautiful. It's all hand stitching. Like you could tell, it's really, the costuming is great.
It is.
I mean, it is really incredible. It's a different reality. This is not like how gangs behave.
For sure.
Then some of the reviews are like, this is this how a gang behaves. Duh.
I looked at that too. They were like, this is a romantic idea of gangs. I was like, who's watching The Warriors thinking this is going to be a realistic take on gangs? It isn't.
Yeah, no doy. Yeah, it's supposed to be. Now we all understand about different universes, and we're more expansive in our thinking, like magical thinking. Like back then, like, that's not a real gang. It would actually be raping women everywhere, and this and this. Like, you want to see that movie?
Yeah, no fucking duh. There's like 100 gangs at this summit or something, and there's, what do they say? There's like 100 gangs totaling 60,000 members. Obviously, this is not a real thing. You don't watch The Warriors for realistic depictions of gangs. But I love how the story really is just the Warriors are trying to get back to Coney Island, and every other gang in New York wants to fuck them up and or kill them. And so it's just how can they get there? Like, how can they cross a road without being seen and get on the subway and all these and they encounter all these different gangs. All of them would separately make fabulous Halloween costumes. So if you're looking for Halloween costume ideas, you should watch The Warriors. It's like a Western. It's kind of a Western-esque type movie.
It's a thriller too. And it's very thrilling to watch them go from place to place to place. There's a scene where they're under a bridge, and then it's a bunch of skinheads in these cars that go by, and then I know what this is like, running up to the platform once you hear the train, and then trying to get onto the train, and they're chasing after them. the graffiti on everything is real. That's what the subways look like back then. But they're being chased and they are going through different neighborhoods and encountering different problems. I love it when they go through, they're called the Orphans, and it's just this raggedy, pathetic group of gang, that they're and that's where we meet Mercy, who either she's the girlfriend or the sister of somebody. I always thought she was the sister.
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure on that either.
Yeah. So, but that's Deborah Van Valkenburg, and she runs away with the Warriors because she's bored with being on that block with those losers.
Yeah, who can blame her, seriously?
No, Michael Beck's hot. Yeah.
I'm like, bye. I would no judgment,
Later.
Mercy.
Yeah.
Maybe the Warriors could afford to get you a bra. That would be amazing. But no judgment. I'm not judging.
The shapewear was not invented yet, so she couldn't put on a little Spanx or something.
Yeah,
leotard underneath. I
feel bad for her. That's all. It's just she's running around with no bra in a little tank top, and it must be cold. Just saying.
No, it was summer. It was hot. I remember because we did a book versus movie about this. Just spoiler if you want to hear the differences. But so she goes with them, and then at one point they have to be separated. And so half are going in one, and the whole thing is let's meet Union Street platform. And so there's the James Remar has a group and Michael Beck, they have their own little group. And then there's another group. And my favorite sequence is the Baseball Furies.
Oh, yeah. Because they're awesome.
They're rad. They are so terrifying and rad. And yes, they are dressed like baseball players with kiss makeup.
Awesome.
When they go up the staircase and they each grab a bat, like they all have their own specific bat.
They're kind of like, it's funny because
it's very scary.
Yeah, because they're wearing baseball uniforms and they got the kiss makeup and stuff. But they look like they'll fuck you up.
Yeah, a bat will hurt a person.
Yeah,
they used to call me Crazy Joe. Now they can call me Batman. Looking for the Lean on Me commercial. I know what I'm talking about.
Seriously.
I'm jumping topics here. Sorry. But so there's the scene with the Baseball Furies. They and the Warriors are good fighters.
They are.
That's like what they're known for because they don't have any weapons. And then James Remar, this is a real problem. This is a problem with the movie is that I love James Remar and he's great in the movie. But they're walking through Central Park and he sees Mercedes Rule.
Mercedes Rule.
In her first feature film, it's their debut. Looking amazing.
Looking so amazing. And we have
beautiful.
We have a lost episode of Married to the Mob that didn't record.
Yes.
It's so sad. And we were singing the praises of Mercedes Rule and how awesome she is. So you'll have to take our word for it. We love Mercedes Rule.
Yeah, she's incredible. And she's basically... James Remar comes over to her and tries to sexually assault her, but he's just being a pig.
Yeah, he's being gross.
And then she's very old school. She uses a whistle. Turns out she's a cop. And she's there to womp womp. Go into jail. And they take up so he's out of the story. And then there's another actor. What's his name?
Oh, are you talking about the guy that gets tossed?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he had a problem with the director, Walter Hill.
Yes.
And he said it was started like before they were even filming. They had an issue with one another. And he, I'm sorry, I'm trying to look him up.
I'm
anyway,
looking it up. You keep going.
Okay. So he had an issue with the director. The director offered him a drink or something when they were watching movies, and he said no, and that caused some tension. And another thing was they were filming all night. It's super hot and humid in New York in the summer, and they didn't have enough trailers for everybody, so people would be just standing around like roasting. And so he threatened to call SAG, the union.
Oh, it's Thomas G. Waits.
Yes. And he's had a career too.
Yeah.
He's been a lot of different things. And so then they finally, like for 8 of them, got to share a trailer. That's, but anyway, he gets, and Walter Hill said, I don't care. Just kill this guy off my show.
Yes.
Like off my film. And so he gets hit by the subway. So there's some consequences here. It gets tense.
Yeah,
And
they lose members along the way.
Yeah, they do. And they gain wisdom. And
it turns out the warriors were in here all along. And I'm pointing at my heart.
so Luther is the guy that actually shot Cyrus, and his gang is trying to find the warriors as well, because he put the blame on them. And I love the scene also where they're outside of a candy store kind of thing. And I like the girl behind the counter. I was like, I was around her age when I watched this movie. I was like, I always feel bad for her.
I still get money. I still feel bad for her. It's like, she's like, hey, why don't you try paying for that? And he's like, bah, why would I pay? I don't know, because fine, fuck off. Like, he's such a dick.
Yeah, just
what
go.
A dick.
Yeah. He's such a dick, but he's a great dick for this movie.
He really
he's
is.
just, and he has like the black leather vest and the black hat, and they're all just, like you said, they're all different toughs.
Yes.
And then we have a separated group, and it's Cochise and the guy that has to be homosexual, Marcelino Sanchez, Rembrandt.
Yes.
Yeah. And they meet a group of girls, and they're called the Lizzies. And they go to this girl gang, very 1979 hair going on here.
They
Lots
look great.
Of perms.
They look great.
They look amazing. They're beautiful. And then that's when two of these guys are going to score. And Marcelino, Rembrandt, is like, that's not what I'm
He's like, you're not my type.
I'm really uncomfortable. Could we please go to Studio 54 or something? I think I could get in.
He totally could get in, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Like, this is not my scene.
Yeah, the Lizzies.
That's just one case where
go ahead.
Are packing heat.
Yeah.
The chicks are packing.
Yeah, they've got guns and knives. And it turns out that they're not very good with either, because they're in pretty close proximity to these three.
Close quarters.
And they still can't seem to land a shot or...
Even with the door closed.
Yes.
Like, they're at that door.
It's pretty...
And they can still push their way through and get out and avoid bullets.
It's very unfortunate for them, but good try, ladies. Nice try.
It's good having women represented.
Yeah.
And then so Mercy and what's his name?
Swan.
Oh God, he's so dreamy. Michael, don't you think? Michael Beck?
He is. And he was the guy in Xanadu, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just making sure that
that's all he ever has to do.
That's it. He's for the rest of his life. Warriors in Xanadu.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
What else do you need?
So they start
Nothing.
Nothing.
That's it.
So they're heading slowly but surely they're getting back to Brooklyn. And I love the scene with Swan and Mercy where they're on the subway and they're just kind of sitting there spacing out, heading to Brooklyn. And then there's this couple of kids like in prom gear.
I wrote this down too.
I really like that scene.
Me too.
Because they get to see how dirty these other people are compared to them.
Yeah.
And they just get off at the next stop. Like, they don't say anything dickish or anything. They're just like, oh, wow.
I love that scene because it's like, because Mercy and Swan are also young. I don't think they're like high school age or anything, but they're young. And it's almost like this is like an alternate life. Like they could have been the people going to the prom, you know, but instead they're doing this. And there's like, just this idea, like Mercy kind of reaches up and she starts like feeling on her own hair. Like she's trying to fix her hair. Like that will cover up the fact that they both look like fucking train wrecks right now. Like, and Swan just takes her hand and just kind of puts it back down. Like, you don't need to do that. Like, we're fine. We're good or whatever. It is like it's just like a really interesting telling scene in a movie that's, I don't like just really action oriented and it's like a little emotional thing that I guess I wasn't expecting.
It's a nice quiet moment.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. You're smart.
You're smart. So they get to Brooklyn and they all meet up together in Coney Island at the piers, which is when next time you come out to New York, I'm taking you out there. It's rad. And they could hear this clinking sound.
So famous.
It's Cyrus. Is That's what it's no. Sorry,
Luther.
Luther. Cyrus is dead. Luther is clanking bottles with his fingers, and he's putting it like like a speaker over his car or something. But he's just like, "Warriors, come out and play."
It's so famous. That scene is so like I knew that is so famous. You could say that to anyone, and they know what you're talking about. Even if they haven't seen the movie, they know what you're talking about.
But especially when if somebody doesn't know what I'm talking about when I say that, then I don't want to know you.
You're like, we can't be friends.
We can't be friends. This is so goddamn entertaining. You have got to be kidding me. And so the Warriors and Luther's gang, they're on the beach. And I miss the beach so much. And they're on the beach and they're having it out. And basically Swan's like, we know you killed Cyrus and you're trying to frame us and you're full of shit. And Luther's like, nuh-uh. And then Luther, nuh-uh.
I know you are, but what am I?
I'm ripping your glue. So, and by the way, all the other gangs are close to the shoreline. They're all mainly the riffs are at the shoreline, and they're watching this. And then Luther finally takes out his gun to shoot at Swan. It shoots at a group of people, all standing very close to one another. Doesn't hit anyone. But Swan's got a switchblade, and he throws it.
By the way, Luther had really good aim and was able to shoot Cyrus from really far away. But
yeah, someone's
fine.
6 feet away from him. Yeah, and so Swan throws. Spoilers, by the way.
Yeah.
Swan throws his switchblade knife and it hits Luther in his shooting arm. So then Luther goes, ah, and falls. And that's when the Riffs realize, like, oh yeah, that's the dick who killed our dude.
Yeah.
And they're basically, all right, Warriors, we're sorry. We're not going to kill you now.
Sorry that
Our bad.
Sorry that now some of your members are in jail and or dead.
Womp womp, but y'all can walk home now. Just walk along. It's a nice night. The sun's coming down. Just go for a walk on the beach.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. And it goes on forever. They're just walking along this beach. And then they play In the City by the Eagles, a song I love.
It's so good.
It's so good. It's so perfect. It's so fucking perfect.
It's such an easy movie to watch. Like, it's like 90 minutes. It's super entertaining. There's so much to look at. It's easy to follow along. Like, I just really, really liked watching it. There are things that are problematic. Like,
sure,
they throw around some gay slurs and, like James Remar tries to like sexually assault Mercedes Ruehl, but she gets him arrested. It's awesome. That part's great.
Yeah,
but it is like such an entertaining movie. I don't even know a better way to describe it other than it's fucking entertaining. Just watch it. You'll like it.
Yeah. It's just really, really fun. It's an interesting slice of nostalgia for New York City at that time. But yeah, it's not. No, they are not based on real gangs.
Right. This isn't Colors.
Yeah, this is not Colors.
Colors. Nightmare walking, psychopath talking.
That's not it. It's just its own little universe.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that they're not all carrying guns.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, it makes it way more entertaining when you remove guns. Like, they had to have a gun because you needed to be able to shoot Cyrus from far away. So, like, there is a gun out there, but, like, I like that it's not relying on guns. It's, they're bats, they're fists, they're different weapons of choice, but not always guns. I think it makes it just more entertaining. They have
to actually fight.
Yeah, they actually have
their fighting skills.
Yeah, they actually have to fight. I don't even know if they're necessarily always trying to kill each other. It's just they're beating the shit out of each other.
Which is great.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's fine.
I'm totally fine with that. And any other like movie at this time with that had women in it, especially a scene like that, they would easily be topless. Like a few of them would have to be.
For sure.
They would have to throw tits in there somehow.
Yeah.
Like they would never just let these women be their own gang and be their own thing. And so they kind of cool about that. I really do think it's way ahead of its time.
I think it is too. I know that I read that Walter Hill, the director, wanted the Warriors to all be like a black gang, and that the studio was like, no, we need some white people in there for commercial reasons, blah, blah, blah. But I will say, I think the movie's actually pretty diverse. And like, I know that I know that some of the gangs have like, I'm trying to think of the right term, like a racial component to them. Like there seems to be like a gang that's like all like Chinese people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like the riffs are mainly black people, like things like, I don't think it's meant to be like a racist thing. It's just they're a gang. It's just, I don't know how else to, I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, but like.
No, but ethnically they're all similar.
Yeah, but there are gangs where it's all very mixed. I don't think it's meant to be like, and then it's the Chinese people against black people, and then they're against white people and all that. I don't think it's meant to be that way. I think it's, and you know, if people want to look at this movie through any kind of realistic lens, there are gangs like that in which, you know, that sort of thing matters. But the Warriors themselves are pretty diverse. Yeah. Actually.
No, and if you look in that crowd, that first scene when Cyrus is talking, it's incredibly diverse. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's berets and fedoras and satin jackets and satin vests.
The top hats, the mimes. I mean, and then the other guys, that has to be the Irish gang, the ones with the roller skates and the overalls.
Oh my God. I can't believe we didn't mention them right away.
Oh my God.
I'm like, that's a look. That's a choice.
That's scary too. They're super scary. They have a fight in a bathroom that's like, yikes.
By the way, you could fuck someone up with some skates. This is true.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, ask Roller Girl and Boogie Nights. You could fuck someone up. I sent you a quiz to find out which gang you're in. Did it tell you which gang?
I didn't. I'm going to tell you Baseball Furies.
You see, I was hoping I would get Baseball Furies, but it says I'm a Warrior. I took the quiz.
So you're Mercy.
The truth is, I'm probably one of the Lizzies. I'd be a bad aim. I wouldn't know how to use a knife. You'd
be wearing a dress.
I would totally be wearing a dress. I'd be wearing my saddle shoes. They'd be like, who's this chick from the 50s? Hi, everybody. I'm in a gang. I'm going to kill you with kindness.
And passive aggression.
So be aggressive. Passive aggressive. I read that they were thinking about doing a remake of this at one point, and I think it could be remade, but I really hope that if they did it, they would still kind of keep guns out of it as much as possible. Yeah.
Well, so the movie comes out, and ironically, there was some gun violence at some screenings.
Yeah.
It was like some gangs did show up thinking, ooh, we're going to see a shoot 'em up gang movie. And they're like, wait a second. They're just running and punching each other. This isn't fun. But anyway, there was some violence. And so the movie was pulled. And then so there was all this controversy. Like, is this movie promoting violence? And it's like, there's way more violent things that came out in the 70s.
For sure.
Than this. The Godfather, for Christ's sakes, is more violent than this. So
also a gang movie, if you ask me.
Yeah, a gang movie, and was multiracial. There's a lot to be. It's set in New York City. New York City, like at that time, was considered a cesspool. So it's years later, like it's being on TBS all the time. Mm-hmm. It went on video. It did really well. Went on DVD. It did really well. I bought them both. And then it became a video game, and it was super popular. The video game did really well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so I think it would be interesting if they did it like a graphic novel to film.
Yeah. I know that Tony Scott wanted to remake it, and I believe Tony Scott passed away. So then now there a couple years ago there was talk of adapting it to a TV series.
No.
With Joe and Anthony Russo, who I believe are like Marvel guys. I think they've done like the Captain America movies.
No.
I think I'm correct. And I'm like, maybe a TV series. I do think it could be remade. I think it's one of those movies where I know people like to shit on remakes. And I'm like, well, if you take something old and put a new spin on it, if you have like an interesting take on the story, I'm fine with that. But I kind of hope if they do it, they leave the guns out again, because that's kind of what's fun about the movie.
I agree.
Is that not everybody's necessarily going to die.
Right.
Do you want to? Oh, you know what? I wanted to ask you, how do you think New York looks in the movie? Because I'm thinking that someone who lives in New York and travels around New York is probably enjoying the Warriors on a whole other level.
It's so next level for me. First of all, they go to Van Cortlandt, and that's where Cyrus is killed. And then they're hiding out in a cemetery. Half of my family is in that cemetery.
Oh my gosh.
So I started yelling at the TV, like, don't shit on my grandma. Don't tag her, Tombstone.
Overheard on Dorking Out podcast. Don't shit on my grandma.
And God bless his heart, Rembrandt with his weak W for the Warriors tag.
Wah.
Not that strong. Wah.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's fun. It's like New York City of the 70s. And there are certain places, 96 and Broadway, that I just know really well.
Yeah.
Union Station. I think, New York looks appropriately scary. It was at the time. But New York is also great because it's got a lot of people and there's a lot going on. So I think Coney Island always looks great. And I love it in this movie.
I want to go to Coney Island. Definitely. Let's go there next time I'm in town.
Yep.
Someday we'll get to travel again.
Someday.
It'll be amazing. Do you want to hear about some of the other movies from 1979?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever see Love at First Bite?
Yes.
That's one that I think was on the movie channels a lot when I was a kid.
Yes.
I don't know what I would think about it now. It's
Susan St. James.
I think that's right. And is it George Hamilton?
George Hamilton as Dracula.
Yes. It's very ridiculous.
It's pretty great. Yeah.
Mad Max.
Yep.
Which I tried to watch recently, and I know people super love it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a thing. It wasn't, I guess it wasn't for me. Manhattan.
Woody Allen?
Yeah.
Where he falls in love with a senior in high school?
Yeah. Fuck Woody Allen.
No. She's really in love with him. That's the thing.
Yeah. Because who wouldn't? What teenager wouldn't be hot for Woody Allen? Sexy. Fuck Woody Allen. He's gross. And fuck that movie. Actually, I have never seen it. So what do I know? Alien.
Awesome.
Such a good movie. Meatballs.
Awesome.
Do you think Meatballs has aged well? I'm curious. I haven't seen it in a long time.
I haven't seen it in a few years, but I used to watch it like every time it was on. It's a Bill Murray movie, and they're in summer camp. I'm sure it's problematic as hell in some spots.
I suspect it is problematic in some spots, but I haven't seen it.
But I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I used to love it.
It's one of my favorites.
Moonraker.
It just doesn't matter.
It just doesn't
matter.
I still say that. I also use the word spaz a lot too.
Oh yeah, spaz. Everybody see Meatballs now.
Do it and then report back. Let us know how it holds up. Moonraker. Speaking of things that don't hold up.
No, I can't. I can't with that one.
It's a very ridiculous James Bond movie where he goes into space.
Yeah.
Monty Python's Life of Brian.
Fantastic.
So funny. Rock and Roll High School.
Great.
I have not seen Rock and Roll High School in a very long time.
To this day, if I'm first in line for something, I say to myself, Riff Randall, first in line. I love the Ramones, so I'm all in.
I need to revisit that one. I think that would be really fun to rewatch. All That Jazz.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one since I must have been really young, actually, when I saw All That Jazz. And I'm sure I didn't get most of it.
Yeah, I think I'd be interested now that FX had that whole series about Posse. And yeah, I think I should check it out again.
And then the last one on my list here is The Electric Horseman.
That's
Jane Fonda.
Robert Redford. Jane
Yep.
Fonda and Robert Redford. Yeah. They're very sexy.
They are. We recently did The China Syndrome, which was also 1979, which is why I didn't do top movies of 1979. Busy year for Jane Fonda. China Syndrome and Electric Horseman. Very different movies where she plays journalists in both.
That's true. And she looks great.
She does. Jane Fonda's fucking rad.
She's sexy.
We should all be buying her like workout tapes because she still looks
Yeah.
fucking great.
No shit.
I mean, I'm sure she has a lot of plastic surgery, but she looks
also
great.
worked out really hard
She
too.
did.
I mean, and she's disciplined.
Yeah.
Trust me.
When I was in high school, I took aerobics, and because of course I did, because I went to high school in the 80s, and they we would do a Jane Fonda tape,
Yeah, same here.
and they're really good.
They're very high cardio.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah,
do 'em.
she had a-
I should find some
yeah.
now and watch them and do them.
Yeah. So do you want to hear some hits from 1979?
Yeah, I do.
Donna Summer, Dim All the Lights.
Fucking love that song.
Fucking rad song.
So good.
Sister Sledge, We Are Family.
Oh, the
Such
song.
a good song.
Hear it at every wedding.
Yep. The Charlie Daniels Band, The Devil Went Down to Georgia. Big hit.
The devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal.
And The Devil is Better on Violin. I'm just going to say it. On the fiddle, excuse me.
It's true. He probably should have won.
He did, yeah. Super Tramp, Take the Long Way Home. I love that song.
That's a good song.
Yes. The Police, Message in a Bottle.
Also, such a
Rad
good song.
song.
I love the Police.
Me too.
I like sing solo stuff too. Like
Mm-hmm.
not I can't say anything recent, but back in the day. you
Yeah.
know,
I
was-
liked his first one, his first solo album.
Yeah, I was into it. That's a really good list.
Mm-hmm.
What else are you dorking out about?
So this week I decided I was going to finally check out Behind Her Eyes, which is the show on Netflix. It stars Eve Hewson, who is Bono's daughter.
Oh,
And she also starred in The Nick, which a lot of people seem to like. I've never seen it.
I did watch that.
Yeah. So this is it's sort of science fiction-ish, meets domestic violence, meets it's a thriller wrapped inside a puzzle. I don't know what to say, but Eve Hewson plays a woman who's married to a man who works at a very posh psychiatric kind of hospital. And a woman that works for him and him start to have an affair. And then she becomes friends with the woman that he's having an affair with. And so you wonder, like, is this going to become a throuple, or is something's going on here? And her past is that when she was young, her parents died in a house fire, and it just kind of almost destroyed her as a person. And she went to a psychiatric hospital,
Mhm.
and she became friends with a guy named Rob, and they were very, very close. And I don't want to really say anything else because there are twists and turns towards the end that are like, what? Which are great, but then it makes you go back and look at the clues. You're like, holy shit, it was there all along. But I want to say this.
Mm.
It's a movie that has astral projection.
Okay.
So in it, it's like 5 or 6 episodes.
Is it
It's-
like a limited series, or do you think it's going to
Yes,
be?
it's a limited.
Okay.
It's a limited series. I mean, I guess I could see how they could have a season 2, but I'm trying not to give away too many details because I went into it not really knowing anything, and but I did know there was some kind of weird twist. And then when I got to that, I was like, holy shit! Oh, right, that makes so much more sense.
Mm.
So it's interesting, and she's a great actress.
Oh, okay. And what's it called
And it's on
again?
Netflix.
I'm going to put it on my list.
It's Behind Her Eyes,
Okay. Behind
and
Her
it's on
Eyes.
Netflix.
All right. Putting it on the list. I saw, and I know you saw it too, Coming to America 2
Yes, with the number 2.
with the number 2. I thought it was entertaining. Like, come on. I mean, the first Coming to America's,
It's brilliant.
it's fucking brilliant, basically. Like, nothing's going to live up to that. I understand that. But there were parts of Coming to America that I really enjoyed. I thought were fun. There were parts that kind of bummed me out because, you know, Akeem's like family is not as accepting as I would have liked them to have been at the beginning of things. But I thought Leslie Jones was so fucking funny in this movie.
She's hilarious. And Tracy Morgan.
And Tracy Morgan, so funny. I think I like where the story goes. And there were just things like I like that they got everyone back that they could possibly get back too. So like the woman who plays his wife in the first one is back for this one. And she's great.
She looks amazing.
She looks amazing. She hasn't aged. It's fucking
at
weird.
all. Yeah.
But I like the relationship with her and Leslie Jones. I think is super fun.
They're singing the Humpty Dance?
Yeah, where they get drunk and sing the Humpty Dance, and then she gets mad at Akeem, like, you scared away my only friend. Like, I really like her, actually. She was one of my favorite parts of the movie, actually, just because I like how she talks to him, and I like her relationship with Leslie Jones a lot. It's not like a huge part of the movie. It's just a small part that I like. I was so happy to see Arsenio Hall. And then they just bring back, like, there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, oh, brother, like, you know, they bring in like Salt and Pepper and Vogue. And,
yeah, you
know, there's like stuff where I'm like, they're trying too hard and it's all very ridiculous. But then, I don't know, there's just stuff that's really fun.
Like, they go back to the barbershop.
Yeah, going back to the barbershop is fun. Seeing John Amos is fun. Like, sexual chocolate is fun. Sexual chocolate is still fucking funny to me. It's so funny. It's really, like, if I had paid a lot of money to see it in the theater, I might have been like, But streaming it
for free,
yeah,
on Amazon,
I was like,
yeah,
that's a perfect way to watch this kind of movie. I liked it. I would recommend it to people if they like Coming to America. I think it's worth it. I liked it.
Yeah, and it's also one of those movies you could have it on and fold laundry or
totally.
And it's totally just makes any task more tolerable.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll laugh out loud.
Yeah. I mean, just even when they showed some clips from the first movie, like especially the one where they're like in the singles bar or whatever, and Arsenio Hall's in drag, and he's like, I want to tear you apart and your friend too. And then Arsenio Hall does a spit take, makes me laugh every time. It's so funny. I also watched, as for research for What a Creep, I rewatched The Times of Harvey Milk, which is on the Criterion Channel and HBO Max. And it's really, really great. I really recommend it. Like, if you haven't seen it, it's on these two different platforms. You could watch it. It's just such an interesting snapshot of what was going on in the 70s. Yeah. And I can be like such a dork about San Francisco and specifically, San Francisco politics. So there are parts of it that like really click for me, but it's really, really great. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's everywhere. You can watch it wherever. But if you have those two channels, you can watch it for free.
It's really incredible because, Harvey Milk was the first openly gay politician in America. And he was killed in 1978. And this documentary comes out in 1984, which is sort of the beginning of the AIDS crisis.
Yes.
So there's that. I mean, I couldn't help it when I watch. I'm like, God, if Harvey Milk lived, how much he would have been able to help with that whole movement and being a part of that. But his killer was released from jail in 1985, right? And then he died by suicide in 1986. It's just this. But I never knew about the story at all the first time I saw it. None of it.
Yeah.
And so it was all surprising to me. And then just the way San Francisco reacted first to the murders and then to the shitty verdict.
Yeah.
And it's just all this footage is there. And then his friends sound like they're amazing, funny people. And they all loved him so much.
Yeah, they did. And his influence is still like just all over this city. Like people,
Mm-hmm.
And like we said in our What a Creep, and you should totally listen to us on What a Creep when we talk about Dan White, which is the creep who fucking murdered Mayor Moscone and Harvey Milk. And we also did an episode about Jim Jones, and these two actually kind of tie together about like what it was like in San Francisco and in the Bay Area during that time. And it's just such a fascinating.
Yeah.
It's sad to think, like what you said about like what Harvey Milk could have done, where he was going, how he could have helped during that time is really.
He would have been brilliant.
Yeah, it's just really sad. But the documentary is so good. I highly recommend it. And it's short too. So I know that like sometimes people are like, I don't watch documentary. It's fucking bummer. It's 90 minutes. It's really good. So you should watch it.
It's very moving.
Definitely. It makes me cry every time.
Yeah, same.
It hits me in some soft spots. Where can people find you on the internet, Margo?
On social media, you can find me at Brooklyn Fit Chick. And I'm starting to do TikTok myself.
What? I'm going to find you on TikTok right after this.
Yeah, Margo Donahue.
Okay.
I'm just dipping my toe in the water there.
Me too.
And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com.
And if you like the sound of our voices, like I said, you should listen to What a Creep. We're having a lot of fun. We're talking about creeps, and then we end every episode with someone who's not a creep. And you can find everything at whatacreeppodcast.com. We were recently interviewed on the BBC about it.
Yes.
No big deal. No big deal. We're just super famous now. I'm just whatever. But it's really fun, and you should listen. And you can find me at The Sonia Show on Twitter, thesoniashow.com, Sonia Show on Instagram. And I am also dipping my toe on the TikTok. You know, I'm there to ruin it for the youngs. I'm the worst. And you can find Dorking Out wherever you listen to your podcast. You're listening right now, and dorkingoutshow.com. And if you want to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, a good review, that would be amazing. It would really offset the 1-star reviews we get from people who are like, I don't like it when ladies disagree with my film opinion, or I don't like the sound of their voices or their cackle, or what's the other thing we do? Apparently we don't have chemistry, LOL.
That was my favorite.
I'm like,
if there's anything we have is chemistry.
I'm like, what the fuck? What show were you listening to? I'm like, what an asshole. Fuck that person. Anyway, I am so glad that we talked about the Warriors. This was really fun, and I'm very excited to talk about Streets of Fire next week. Our little Walter Hill double feature
marathon.
Yeah. This is a good one.
I'm into it.
Margo, come out and play, yay!
They used to call me Margo.